I test rode 14 eMTBs at this year's Otter Classic, and I'm here to give you my first impressions on all 14 bikes, whose bikes these are for, and tips on what to expect and how to demo an eMTB. Welcome to Frankie's eMTB channel. Welcome to part 2 of the test ride first impressions series. And today we are visiting the Shimano group. Now, all the bikes we tested are fitted with the newest EP801, and I was lucky enough to test out the latest auto shift feature. One of the coolest things about demoing is that you get to test the latest and the hottest components available. You're spending thousands of dollars on products that has a lot of marketing spent on them. So testing all the stuff out will give you a good idea if it's just marketing or it actually has a significant difference. I urge everyone to get out there, demo as much as you can, so when you do decide on that new purchase, you have a better clue as what the differences are between tiers, between specs, and between prices. So here's a tip on going to a demo. Be sure to bring your own pedals, helmets, pads, so you can feel as comfortable as you can on that bike and not have to worry about the most basic things like crappy pedals. So head on over to gravitycartel.com, get some Spank reboot pedals for your demo, get some grips, get some handlebars, get whatever components you need. Use my code Frankie's eMTB15. Any purchases with my code will help this channel out directly. So first in the Shimano group is Ari's new Tim Peak. This bike has some very similar characteristics as the Ibis Oso with a 437mm chainstay, very short for a 170mm front and rear travel bike. It climbs really well. The front end tends to lift just a tad when under torque, but that is attributed to that short, fun, poppy chainstay. And for a big 170mm travel bike, it is surprisingly nimble and maneuvers really well through flow sections. Very responsive suspension while going through the travel of the bike. Oh, those Maven brakes, they break. First time riding the Maven Silvers, and they have some exceptional stopping power. The Zeb Ultimate and the Super Deluxe Ultimate on this bike is just flat out superb. I don't know, the suspension setup feels really good on this bike. Platform, super plushy feeling while being maneuverable. So who is this bike for? I think this bike is for those looking for a big, hard-hitting enduro bike that also has some great handling characteristics. If you're looking for that agile enduro bike, this is it. It's not like extremely stiff bike, but it has great support in mid-travel and to the end of the travel. In my opinion, a great all-rounder bike, and you won't need much more upgrades if you do decide on this Pro version. It pretty much has everything A+ in out-of-box shreddability. Next on this list is the Pivot Shuttle LT. I believe I was riding the SLX XT build, which has the 38 performance and the Fox FloatX performance. This is actually the first time I've been on the Shimano 11-speed auto shift, and I have to say it definitely takes a bit getting used to. But then see, it's gonna shift down automatically. All right. I'm gonna test this up on the hill and see. Automatic shift. There's that automatic shifting. Definitely, for sure. I mean, it takes a little bit of getting used to with the automatic shifting. I can see in a lot of technical climbing instances, this would be very helpful, but usually advanced riders already do anticipate that auto shifting. You have to try it out for yourself. Get to a demo event like the Otter. So the climbing ability on the Shuttle LT climbs steep stuff very well, especially with a relatively short chainstay 439 millimeters for a 160 millimeter rear travel bike. So the bike feels a bit more rigid than the Temp Peak, but it does well in the chunk. Great stability at higher speeds. The faster you go, the more stable it feels.
Oh, the pivot.
And that's what I got from this bike. So who is this bike for? I think this bike is built for someone who's a little bit more advanced in riding skill. And it is due to that stiffer and more responsive feeling. You could definitely feel that the faster you go on this bike, the higher speeds that you hit, the more stability comes. And for riders who are not pushing the limits of their riding, they might not enjoy this bike as much. So next is the Evo Epocalypse. Climbing on this bike felt very easy. No front wheelies from the sitting position. This bike is 166 millimeter rear travel, 170 millimeter front. So it falls perfectly in that big enduro category. 630 watt hour battery and on full 29s. Through chunk, it felt a bit stiffer than I anticipated. The Delta system is definitely not a plush feeling bike. And just like the Shuttle LT, the faster you go, the better the suspension performs. It feels very responsive for such a big 165 millimeter travel bike. And I was anticipating a little bit more plush because of the design of the Delta system, but it isn't. It is actually very progressive through the travel. So who is this bike for? I think this bike is designed for more advanced riders who are looking to ride at consistent high speeds through steep stuff. So you can definitely feel the progression in the suspension throughout the travel of the bike. I really do not recommend this bike for anyone that is just looking to ride fire roads, green trails, or blue trails. I think this is very, very much built for an advanced rider. The next bike in the Shimano group is the Santa Cruz Heckler. It is that 150, 160 millimeter travel bike, all-rounder with 720 watt hour battery. Now this particular Heckler had that top of the line Fox components. Definitely not a base tier build, but I have to say, this bike is a lot of fun. Unfortunately, for some reason, I forgot to press record on this part of my ride. I was going through a lot of bikes and I just don't know why I didn't record. On the climbs, this bike was pretty effortless. No front wheelies. The suspension on this bike felt a lot more plush than both the Evo and the Shuttle LT. The bike felt very easy to maneuver and pop around, and I think that is just the nature of a 150 millimeter all-mountain bike. So who is this bike for? I would say this bike is pretty much for all levels of riders. But that being said, it is a Santa Cruz and it is going to be on the expensive side of things. But with that said, if you can find a good base tier model for a good price and build it up, you can definitely turn this into a dream machine. All right, so in my previous video, I stated that it is just not fair to give a best 4 out of all or a best out of all these bikes because these builds come in different tiers as well as different travels and such and so forth. But the only fair way to rate it is based on the fun factor. Yes, it is very subjective, but that is likely what you're going to experience when you're out there yourself demoing bikes all day. So with that said, coming in at number 4 is the Pivot Shuttle LT. Number 3 is the Evo Epocalypse. Number 2 is the RE10 Peak. And number 1 is the Santa Cruz Heckler. It was really hard for me to make this decision. The 10 Peak and the Heckler was so close. I had so much fun on both. And I think what made me choose the Heckler over the 10 Peak was the amount of maneuverability. So you see, there comes the unfairness. But I think I just have that soft spot, 450 millimeter bikes, that all mountain category. It's biased, I know, but hey, you know, we all have some biases. And on this channel, I try to stay truthful to you guys. So with that, hit that like button and share this video with everyone you know. I have one more thing to say about my time at the Shimano demo booth. Shimano's technicians and their setup was far more superior than what I experienced at Bosch. At the Shimano booth, I noticed they had great pedals, grips, and they took their time to dial in the sag for each and every rider, giving us ample time to set up, weight, and everything else. Hats off to all the mechanics on duty at that time. You guys did one hell of a job. Tune in to the next video where I test ride the Nebo Peak or Bay Rise, Giant Transx Advanced Elite, and the Turbo Levo SL with that 1.2 motor. See you on the next one, and as always, stay electric. Peace.